All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of the program. I am merely Beau. He's the great Z. Tuesdays, I think I found that I am despising Tuesdays more than Mondays. Mondays, I get a little juice for Mondays. I'm fine with it. I'm coming off a weekend. There's a lot of things to discuss.
Yeah, football season, you get Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football.
Aikman and Buck.
Tuesday's the problem.
Manning cast. Tuesday.
How about that? That they are. You think about the financial investment on Monday Night Football.
Don't you think it's going to become? I feel like it's got to be the better games than Sunday night now.
Well, I think it would have to be. Well, for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm tired by Sunday night.
Well, you know how I feel about it.
I know.
Waiting all day for Sunday night? No, I'm good.
Good.
I'm actually smoked. I'd prefer to not. Maybe watch an episode of something on HBO.
Like
I'd rather not
year,
watch more football.
This past season, we had Saturday games, we had Monday games, we had extra Monday game, whatever it was when we played Las Vegas. I believe that ended up being on a Monday. So I had multiple, the bye week, a Thursday night game. I had a lot of Sundays this year, more than ever, right, Gib? Hey, more than ever, to actually watch football. Yeah. By Sunday Night Football, I'm like,
it's too much.
It's a lot of football to watch.
I rarely make it to the end of a Sunday night game.
Oh, yeah, no chance.
Do you think you will ever see it? Oh, God, no.
But
do you think you'll ever see a scenario where Sunday Night Football becomes like they get rid of it and it becomes – and the days become maybe Saturday night?
I would like that. But what about college?
Yeah, they've always stayed clear of it. They've always steered clear of that. I mean, it's the number one rated, but part of that is they get great games.
Yeah. It does better than like the
I think the
afternoon
most
CBS.
Well, no, but I think the afternoon game of the week gets like the most because it's usually completely unencumbered other than the regional games. But you rarely measure that. Usually they measure prime time. That's what you sell as prime time.
Gotcha.
So that's why Sunday Night Football wins all the time.
I would rather take that game and do a Monday night doubleheader, like the 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Remember that
6 and 9 is
weeks.
probably what you'd have to. You'd have to do 6 and 9:30 probably because I don't think ESPN wants to start at 5, but on the East Coast. But I would be for that. I'd be for a 6. That. Yeah, it's too dang much, man. It's too much unless your team's in it. But then even the times when we've been in it, you basically wait all day for it.
It is a brutal wait.
It's excruciating.
When we were in Baltimore,
Zegura,
do you remember that?
Oh yeah, forever.
I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we still hadn't even gone to the stadium.
I'll tell you what, though, I do prefer that than when we played. What was it? The Chargers, Week 5, and we had to do our TV hits for 11 a.m. here, which was 8 a.m. there, and then the game didn't kick until 1 o'clock there. That was a real long day.
So you were doing 8 a.m. local
for a countdown
for
of 11.
And for games that run at 4 o'clock here.
Yeah.
Start at 4 o'clock here, but was that
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough go. Wouldn't you have to do that though if it was at 8 too? If you're on the West Coast, because your kickoff shows are still airing at 11.
Yeah, but we went.
Then we'd go home.
And then we went home. I did it for Baltimore. Yeah, then you just went back to the hotel.
Then you went back to the hotel and hung. So you just had to chill.
You and young
You're
Connor.
just chilling in the stadium. It was me and Connor.
With a K?
Yeah, Connor with a K.
Yeah. No, it's fat. And then it appears that Fox is going with Burkhart from here on out. That Al is going to Thursday. That like he's going to do Amazon with Herb Street, and then Fox will go Burkhart, and then who? I don't know who that will be, but they don't. I was surprised he didn't throw a Hail Mary at Al Michaels and say, "Come to Fox. You call the next 2-3 Super Bowls."
It feels like maybe Fox doesn't even care. They didn't even.
I don't think they do.
They didn't say a word to Aikman.
That's in segment 2 of the program today.
So I like to read ahead.
It's okay. Troy Aikman with some poignant comments.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the Jimmy Trania thing and the way that all went down. Yeah, I don't know what they're – I don't know. I think that's so strange that one of the NFL television partners in Fox basically punted on a known personality being the front of their network. And rest assured, that is the front of the Fox network. The guy, whoever's running Fox Sports, that's the face of Fox, right, from a network standpoint.
Well, at least that's what we thought. Maybe that.
Well, it is.
Not,
I mean, it's the most watched things
on
on Fox in the next 5 years are going to be their sports programming. The 2 out of the 3 Super Bowls, the Sunday afternoon game, and then the World Series, that's going to be it. I mean, I don't know that there's anything on broadcast anymore that rates even in the vicinity This isn't the days of American Idol getting 30 million viewers. That doesn't happen anymore, man. It's over. So they've punted on it, and they're entirely dependent, not entirely, but largely dependent on ratings. Meantime, the entity that is not dependent on ratings in any way has invested in a star-studded not only game crew, but also an alternate game feed. Like, I would think if it were me, if I'm Joe Buck, I would say, okay, my competition is the Manning cast.
Yeah.
I have to bury the Manning cast. The traditional broadcast has to bury the Manning cast. Now, they'll act like they're all friends and, hey, it's all one big pot. But I promise you, on Tuesday morning, when those ratings come in, you're going, they're not, the traditional will win, clearly, by a wide margin. Even last year with the broadcast group that it was on ESPN for Monday Night Football, they would annihilate Manningcast, even though Manningcast had all of the like social media buzz. Like Manningcast would do about 2 million, and the broadcast would be like 15 or 14. But if that gap starts to go here,
I know you say it's all one.
to
I just don't know why. It feels like an unbelievable allocation of resources. Like I'd almost want ESPN to somehow end up getting Sunday night and Monday night, and one Sunday night every week is the Manning cast, and Monday night every week is Buck and Aikman.
Buck and Aikman, yeah.
Like I would rather split those up because, quite frankly, I thought Troy was great this year. I think
he was.
Joe Buck
This
is
is
great.
his best year.
I
yeah.
enjoy listening to them, but I also am definitely going to want to watch the Manning cast.
But you only get the Manning cast for 10 of the 16 games, 17. They don't do a 17th. They
Right.
don't do a Monday night game on. Well, 17 out of the 18 weeks.
Well, yeah,
Is that
they'll
right?
probably do doubleheader. Well, and they have more games coming too. Like they actually need a second crew
Correct.
at ESPN because they're gonna. I think as opposed to they've been recently like 17 games. I think they're going upwards of like 28 or
Yes.
26.
Levy and Riddick are still going to do those.
And so there's like an extra 8-9 games
Yeah.
that they're going to do that are now. Are those Sunday games? Are those Saturday games late in the season? Probably would be my guess.
I would think.
And some wild card games. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, they probably have a wild card doubleheader maybe.
Yeah.
If they're going to do 3 games.
Right. And we know they have a Super Bowl in 26. So, that's out there a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. It's strange how all of that stuff stands. And the decisions that are being made, but it does seem like that Al is going to go to Amazon and do the games with Herb Street. So Fox will have Burkhart, and then they need somebody. What's the Hoff doing?
Well, he's
Put
going to
the Hoff
join us
in
at
there.
2:30
I'm going to
today.
ask. We'll ask him.
Yeah.
Burkhart and Hoff.
I mean, you have to. It would feel like from their current stable would be Greg Olson.
I don't know that that's.
Do they roll Aqib Talib and bump him all the way up since people have liked his early offerings?
I mean, honestly, probably their best game analyst. It might be Joel Klatt on college.
But he's on college.
Right, but I mean, Herb Street's on college, and he's
Yeah.
moving to Amazon. Does Klatt move to NFL?
Thursday
Do
to
they bring Gus back?
Thursday to Saturday feels a little bit easier than maybe going. But
Well,
Gus,
no, I'm
Gus
saying
does
he
play-by-play, right?
He does play-by-play for Big Monday or Big Noon.
Yeah.
So and he still does some NFL. Like, do they move Klatt from college to NFL and then put you? I mean, you could put Brady
Gus was
Quinn
the
or
voice of the season
think-
of dreams in 2007. 2007 Browns. Gus was on like every call.
oh yeah. I mean, and I still think he was best at college basketball.
Yes.
I love Gus.
That's
I
was
miss-
his.
Do you
that
think
was
they
his-
maybe go with somebody go out of the box and go with like a Mina Kimes?
I don't know that. I don't. Maybe
She does the Rams.
She does Rams,
with
but that would be
Siciliano
to
and
go from
Aqib
that to
Talib.
like a team, AAA team
Yeah.
would be a pretty big.
It would be
leap.
buzzworthy. It would
It'd
give
certainly
them
be buzzworthy.
attention.
Yeah. I don't know. I tell you this though, they are loyal to their people up until what's happened here with Aikman and Buck. Like up until that
But
point,
it's like a stunning
if
thing.
you get in with Fox, then they take care of you for the duration. So the only thing if you moved Klatt up and put him on the A team for the NFL, and then you could take like Brady Quinn or Leinart and put them on the games with Gus on Big Noon because those guys are on that pregame show, and there's no way they're getting their juice out of them for that. So maybe that would be the way to do it. Hard to say.
Hard to say.
Hard to say. That was pretty predictable last night in town, wasn't it?
I was there.
You went?
I went. I was there. First Cavs game of the season.
You didn't tell me you were going. Why? Was it spur of the moment?
Yeah,
Not that you have to run all your personal affairs by me, but
yeah, I ended up going with S and his boy, Bray Boy, and his buddy Reed, and they said, hey, and he got it one more ticket. You want to come? I said, sure, I'll go watch LeBron. And so we went. It was great. Saw Greg Newsome, saw Myles Garrett, talked with both of them.
how was the pop for Garrett on the big screen?
Immense, enormous, and it came right after they had showed Cam Hayward, and they started with his only Ohio State highlights. And then when he got on there, he said, let's go Steelers. And then people were not happy, and they went right to Myles, and it was deafening. Huge pop.
That's a pretty good job out of whoever's running the jumbo.
Yeah, they went right to Myles.
That's a good audible.
Yeah, Newsome was down there. Newsome was in the front row. Myles was in the front row. Packed, total,
Of course.
full-on sellout. And then LeBron goes out and, 38, 12, and 10, triple-double, no
big deal. 37 years old.
Like
Their
to focus
team
on Darius Garland's effort last night.
Darius Garland's
Oh, he's
great.
stunning.
First time I've gotten to see him live.
Isn't he fun live? He floats.
Markkanen is great.
Yeah.
I think Mobley is going to be good. Like, I know that Gibbe, you wouldn't want him, but you throw LeBron on that team right now, like, I think they could win it all.
No question.
With Jared Allen back, and that would be your starting lineup, would be Garland, LeBron, and go with the three bigs. Like,
Yeah.
It would be.
Is that a matchup problem? They're a matchup problem anyway,
Yeah.
let alone. Yeah.
And if you need to go small ball, obviously, then you bring in, Okoro. I like that kid, the other guy that I wasn't familiar with before last night, Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
Scrappy.
Yeah.
He got after it. I enjoyed his game. I mean, LeBron is sensational to watch. Russ had a solid game, still fun to watch. Dwight Howard is useless out there.
Wait a minute. Did Russ have a good game last night?
Solid.
Because some of the stuff I saw.
People are like acting. I was when I was with like.
No, I thought he was solid. He was pretty active. I mean, he's going to miss shots by 6 feet from time to time.
He maybe had 20 and 10. I mean, I think he definitely had a double-double.
Yeah, that seems about right.
And it was funny because every time he did something, S would be like, but he's supposed to stink now. I'm like, he's still averaging 18, 8, and 8. Like,
right.
I know that he isn't the best shooter in the world, but it's not like he's
right.
People are acting like he's garbage. He's not garbage.
He's washed.
The guy averaged a triple-double for, 3 seasons in a row? He's not that guy anymore.
No.
And whenever your game is so predicated upon physicality, there's going to be a waning. I mean, it was tough, honestly, watching Dwight Howard. And you could tell LeBron just doesn't even like playing with half of these guys, which is ironic since he's the one who
he acquired them.
He built the team. Malik Monk is fun to watch in person. I thought Stanley Johnson had a nice game for them. DJ Augustin went 6 of 6 for 3.
DJ Augustin, the kid from
Augustin,
Texas,
yeah,
is playing for them?
6 of 6 for 3, went for 20.
Wow.
Russ had 20 points, 11 assists, 4 boards, a steal, 1 turnover. I mean, by Russ standards, it's pretty. He went 7 of 14 from the floor, 2 of 6 from 3, 4 of 7 from the line. They were plus 23 when Russ was on the floor.
I think the young Cavs got sucked into the moment last night.
It's easy to let that happen.
Not a whole lot of D in this game. Not a whole lot. It was 131, 120. I mean, you put up 251 points in an NBA game. Not a lot of D.
It has to be hard to be, what's Garland, 20 years old?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine being like, or Okoro, one of those guys, Mobley even, and like you've grown up watching LeBron James, and then now you're playing against him in a house that, he in a part built. In many ways. I know obviously they built it before he got there when it was the original Gund Arena, but all the improvements were done because of this, in large part because of the success had while he was here. And then, I mean, he does the chalk talk, like the whole thing.
Oh,
like it's
great.
just,
and he did it. And
I
people
appreciate your audition. We'll be in touch.
People went
it's
nuts
all
for
of
it.
that.
We'll be in touch. But
I think you're becoming the minority. I think the All-Star game, the All-Star game and the way that
you know how many? He
doesn't need to.
There
he doesn't need this.
So many Lakers
like
jerseys. So many LeBron Lakers jerseys. I mean, a ton of
That's
LeBron
not surprising
Lakers
to
jerseys.
me that there is. I mean, it's also accessible. I've said this before with my kids. Like, all of this stuff is so accessible to them. They're not tied to any one franchise or any one player. They can. It's all out there for them. They can consume whatever they want. They're not locked in geographically like kids were. I see it with their friends. You go to the school and, from a football standpoint, you see a Mahomes, you see a Kyler, it's not like they're just like all in, Yeah, when we're good, they buy the jerseys, but they're quick to move off and they'll buy the other ones too. There's not that loyalty that happened when we were kids. It wasn't there.
Fun experience.
Over-under last night, by the way, was 228.
Yeah, so blasted way over that.
Yep.
I mean, you were over. It was.
Let me ask you guys this. LeBron is leading the NBA in scoring at age 37. He had a 38, 12, 10 or whatever he had last night here.
38, 12, 11, yeah.
Brady is 45 and had a 5,000-yard season last year. Do we have to adjust what we used to think was a prime of a player because of how far we've come in health, diet, the ability to play longer, better? Like, I think in our head we think, oh, you hit your early 30s, you're at the end of your prime. I don't know that that's true anymore. I think
certain games, certain positions.
Yeah, certain games, certain positions, that can be extended through the mid-30s.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's kind of the evolution of man and medicine and science and commitment and health and wellness and all of those things. I mean, I'm 43. I don't feel like I'm 43. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. But
never mind the fact you almost die on the floor after you get done with the Hoff workout.
Because I put it in. I put in the work.
But the Hoff workout's another level.
The grind.
You do not need to be doing the Hoff.
I love it, man.
I find that I find that it takes me long. I mean, yeah, all the things, but I'm not doing what Brady's doing. Like the discipline, discipline that Brady has to do what he's doing. That LeBron spends $1 million a year on his body. You know, I mean, if that's where we've come here, that's all changed.
Yeah,
it's all changed. It's I marvel at him. I just think it's crazy that somebody can do that.
What is it? You're 18. You're 19.
19.
Here's the thing.
I mean, that's to get your night in, night out to get beat down.
We're all old enough to remember the end of Michael, even the end of Kobe. I mean, Kobe he blew an Achilles, missed all sorts of time. Yeah, he had the 60-pointer when he went out, but I think he shot it 50 times that night.
Yep,
if memory serves. Like you remember that, but you were limping.
Right, and your game had changed.
Your game
completely.
had changed.
He looked like the same LeBron. What's amazing about LeBron is, I mean, there are many, many things, but how many times in our lifetimes, and people our age or even people older than us, has somebody been promised to be the next big thing, starts in high school, they're going to be this great? Is he the only one that's actually lived up to every possible accolade that was ever bestowed upon him before he ever earned them, and then did that and more, and is still doing it today, 20 years later?
The only others, I mean, there are 3 instances of what you just described that have happened in our lifetime, and it's him, Tiger Woods, and the Williams sisters.
Those are the Williams sisters.
Those are the ones that did it. Tiger was identified young.
Yep.
He accomplished all of it that was required, but has an incredible, like a 10-year window, starting with what's tearing down of his marriage, and all that came with that, where he evaporated.
But LeBron, I feel like, is the only one, because the Williams sisters and Tiger, those are individual sports.
Oh, yes.
In a team sport scenario where somebody's been promised to be that guy.
I'm trying to think of the football. I mean,
Elway?
Peyton Manning was that.
Elway.
In terms of it was known what he was supposed to be.
But wasn't there still debate?
I mean, there always is with football.
Wasn't it Manning or Leaf?
Yeah, I mean, like I remember some people were doing that, but sometimes I think it was just contrarian to be contrarian.
Elway was.
But I'm saying like Manning was identified in high school as, oh, he's going to be a dude, and then became that. But that's probably as good as it gets in football of that. Adrian Peterson.
And I love Peyton, and I think he's the best. But his career, I don't think actually.
No, not from a Super Bowl standpoint. It's not. No. No, LeBron is. I mean, he's the answer. The idea that. And the idea that his transgressions are leaving here awkwardly once, and that's it, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I would say twice.
That there aren't. I think the second time it's not awkward. It was pretty straightforward. But the first time it was awkward.
He was wounded.
Yeah, certainly.
You see what he said? I'm getting excited about some rando at a.
I did.
Yeah,
I did see that. It was fun.
I
fun night.
appreciate your audition. We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
We have a pretty good young team. They're likable.
I mean, I think they have all the pieces you need to win a championship if they can stay together and grow in a way that you would be expected.
If the money doesn't screw it all up, because that's how.
Well, Dan won't. I mean, he'll pay luxury tax if that's what it takes. I mean, we know that. So that was fun. We do have some news from the Deshaun Watson trade over the weekend. Us giving up an extra 4th in the 2022 draft in the trade for Deshaun Watson, which was actually in the transaction wire, which we were unaware of yesterday.
Correct.
So a fourth-round pick is added to that in this year's draft. So instead of 5 of the top 120, we're at
118. We're at 4.
4.
Yep.
So that's where you stand on that front. We'll go around the league. Coming up next, the great John McClain will join us at 1:30 from Houston. The Hoff at 2:30. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Your business operations collects all the data you need, but you're having a hard time bringing it together and seeing the full picture. Beau here for my friends at EOX Vantage. Their data scientists are also business operations experts. Your EOX Vantage team will help you build an automated system that brings your data sources together in real time, turns them into eye-opening dashboards. You can make smart, time-sensitive decisions. Starting at spreadsheets that provide insight you needed to know last month with EOX Vantage, you'll know exactly where your people stand on their activities and deliverables, and gauge your financial performance easily, accurately, and track progress and your ROI. Check out how companies are making their business intelligence smarter by visiting eoxvantage.com for more information. As we go around the league, Leonard Fournette back to Tampa Bay on a 3-year deal. So that gets done as Tampa's bringing the gang back together on looks like for a 3rd year in a row with that group.
Yeah, and he had taken a visit with New England and was prepared to go to Atlanta. Had Deshaun Watson ended up in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's the way that goes. We mentioned the just to button up the Troy Aikman conversation with Fox, his bosses, never came to him with an offer to stay. Never. So while all this was going on, they never. And at one point after it was done, he said, I would just like to know why. And he said he was not given a reason why.
Yeah, he said the president of Fox called him to congratulate him on going to ESPN.
Right, but never was like,
yeah,
why didn't you try? And then they let Buck go at the same time. I can't imagine. Does Rupert Murdoch own that too? Does he own the Fox network? I know he knows Fox News, but I think he sold some parts of it. Did he sell the Fox network? Get Stevie on that.
Is their contract up with the NFL anytime soon?
No.
Are they trying to get out of it? Like that's what it would feel like. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Those guys are. I mean, Buck has been the face of the network, as you pointed out eloquently.
35 years,
many times. Yeah.
All right, Fox Broadcasting Company. Who owns this? Fox Corp, Fox Entertainment. Let's see who owns Fox Corp now. Is that still Murdoch?
I don't know.
He's the founder. Well, what I was curious about was, like, are there people who, are there people who that aren't him who are now cutting people out? But it appears that they're still, the Walt Disney Company owns, now they own, I don't know. Who knows? But I just don't know why you tried to save money. Doesn't make any sense to me, but why you're worried about that. Liberty University's Pro Day today. Pro Day for Malik Willis. Kenny Pickett's was yesterday. His
hands grew.
Hey, Kenny Pickett's hands grew. Malik Willis was shorter than people thought that he would be. And so there was some issue about that people were worried about. I'll tell you this, and I saw this from Sam Monson. Like he said something this morning. He said, there is no fun in trying to break down the top quarterbacks in this draft. So if you have a sleeper you'd like me to look at, please help me. And I actually heard Mike Renner of Pro Football Focus said that he thinks the best quarterback in this group is Sam Howell. Is his favorite of these guys, and that none of them are that. There will be that next year. C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, Bryce Young out of Alabama. Those guys very likely will be that next year, number one overall guys. But this year's draft with quarterbacks, it's a lot of miss and not a whole lot of hit. Seems to be where we're at.
That's why Mariota signed up immediately. Winston signed up. Trubisky signed up. That's why we heard this at the Combine. And then when you're at the Combine and they throw in shorts and Malik Willis has a cannon. What they know, everybody told us at the Combine, the free agent class is going to get a lot more attention than this draft class. That tells you all you need to know about the draft class. This is not a great draft class for quarterbacks.
Nope, it's not. John McClain has been, how long has he been in Houston covering the Oilers and now Texans?
Probably longer than we've been alive.
It's in play.
Yeah.
We'll ask him about Deshaun Watson, the player, the Deshaun Watson, the person that he covered while he was there, and about how he will fit in this offense and how this deal came about from the Houston side of things. That is coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. A lot of bad advice out there about gambling, from secret methods to picking lottery numbers to betting big when you're on a roll. The miss can lose you money, and money can get you in a lot of trouble when you lose it. So before you wager, find out what's real and what isn't at KeepItFunOhio.com. Big win for us as we're joined by one of the best. John McClain covered the NFL and the Texans for the Chronicle for a very long time down in Houston. Is the best in the business. John, we've had you on several times over the last couple of years on Deshaun, and we would ask, and you'd have this answer. And I honestly never thought it would be us saying, well, he landed here over the last couple of years that we've had you on. From the Houston vantage point, how did this happen? How did this get done last week? How did the Browns get involved in this? So, I think from the outside looking in, feels like quickly. From our vantage point, it's been something they've been working on for a long time.
Nick Caserio insisted, going back to last year, when Watson, the only place he would approve was Miami, that you had to start with 3 first-round draft choices, and then everything else was negotiable. Last year he wanted 3 1s, 2 2s, and a defensive starter. He was going to trade Watson to Miami for 3 1s, a 3, and a 5, and then that fell apart at the November 2nd trade deadline when Stephen Ross, the owner, had insisted that all 22 of the civil suits accusing him of sexual assault, misconduct, and harassment be settled. They could only get 18 settled by the deadline, so it fell apart. And remember, Watson's no-trade clause allowed him to control everything. Nick Caserio had no say, and he could negotiate it. Say Carolina offered 5 number 1s and 5 starters, couldn't trade him. So Watson didn't want to go there. So I never thought the Browns were a serious contender for a couple of reasons. Number one, Watson only been there one time, and that was that November 15th game of 2020 when there was so much
dreadful
rain and hail and lightning that they had to delay the game and evacuate the stands, which I've been coming to Cleveland for more than 4 decades, and I've never seen that. Maybe you guys have.
Not much.
They averaged 3.2 yards per attempt in that game, and they scored 1 touchdown, of course, lost a close game. And another thing, he likes to throw the ball. He likes to be the focus of the offense. In 2020, when they had traded DeAndre Hopkins, when his favorite receiver, Will Fuller, was suspended for the last 5 games for violating his substance abuse policy, when his slot receiver, Randall Cobb, missed the last 6 games with an injury, no matter who they put out there, he made them look great. He threw for 4,800 yards. He had, I think, 35 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He led the league in average per attempt with that receiving group, and he also was number 2 in rating to Aaron Rodgers. He was fabulous. And so you guys know the Browns, because of where that stadium is situated on the lake, they always try to have a good running game. So he'll have a running game like he's never had. And I thought, well, he wants to throw for 4,500, 5,000 yards. He'll never go to Cleveland. And then when the Cleveland was first out, I thought, well, there was no surprise on that. And then, as you guys know in this sport, it's always about the money. Everybody thought he was headed to Atlanta. He's got a place there. Quincy Avery, his best friend and quarterback guru's there. He's from Gainesville, Georgia. He's into the rap scene there, and he's got so many family and friends. And they put on the hard sell. It was like, this is your life. And they had people that he hadn't talked to in years calling him, trying to get him to come to Atlanta. Carolina wouldn't guarantee the last 2 years. They were out of it. And they were the team that was talking about young defensive starters along with picks. And then it came down to the Saints and the Falcons, and all of a sudden, and the Browns deserve a lot of credit for this, they came back with that $230 million guarantee, and nobody could turn that down. As I just said on my radio show here, for that kind of money, you can put up with a lot of wind and rain and hail and snow and slush and be happy as can be. Plus, truthfully, none of those other teams had a chance to go to the playoffs. People say, oh, the Saints. Sean Payton's gone. Dennis Allen was 4-12, 4-12, and 3-13 in his 3 years as a head coach. Nobody knows if they're going to be any good, but we all know the Browns have a lot of talent, young talent. The only problem is they play in the AFC, and in my 45 years of covering the NFL, I have never seen the two conferences so lopsided.
It's amazing the talent that's in the AFC, John. And, as we went through some of the reporting about it, you mentioned at the end, the team that could go to the playoffs and that football was the reason ultimately Deshaun Watson decided he wanted to come to the Browns, and they got that contract done. And other teams even said, hey, why wouldn't you let us match this? And he had made his decision to come here. And you talked a little bit about what kind of a player he is. I think it's pretty well documented. You've done something that I've never done, and that's gotten to talk to Deshaun Watson. You've gotten to interview him. You got to know him as a person prior to these allegations, and I don't know if you spoke with him after these allegations. But what did you know of Deshaun Watson, and how did this kind of watching this all unfold, how did that sit with you, and what were your thoughts on him as a person, and in that context, the allegations that have been brought against him?
Well, first of all, if you read the lawsuits, and I've read them 3 times, and he's innocent till proven guilty, there are some sordid accusations in there. And I would encourage people to read them if they're going to report about it.
Yep.
They're on our website, TexasSportsNation.com, and they are serious allegations by 22 women. There were 2 other women who went to Sports Illustrated, did not become part of the lawsuits, but that was 24 that accused him. His attorney, Rusty Hardin, one of the best in the country, he produced 18 women who gave him massages and said he was a perfect gentleman. So let's see, that's 42 over a 2-year span. So if I'm the Browns, I would make sure that if he's going to get massages, and he will, he uses people who work for the Browns or people the Browns recommend, because they don't want to go through a similar situation. And the fact that they're still out there, we've been saying for a year, he should pay whatever it takes to make those lawsuits go away, to reach settlements with his accusers. Because if they did go to court, you could have 22 court cases. And he had never agreed to settle until right at the end when Stephen Ross demanded it, and he told his attorney, okay, let's do it, and they couldn't get it done. Now, because his income's gone up, those settlements are going to be much more expensive, but he needs to put it behind him and focus on football. The Deshaun Watson that we covered here and dealt with, who was respected before all this came out, caught everybody by surprise. He was great to deal with. He was respected by his teammates, the fans, the media, people in the building at NRG Stadium, and that's why everybody was shocked when these lawsuits and accusations started piling up. And the Browns knew, and he knew, that they're going to get blasted all over the country for signing him, because that's what happens. What happened with Tyreek Hill, Frank Clark, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt. And so after the initial wave of criticism, they get standing ovations.
John, in terms of from a player's standpoint and the fit with this offense that Kevin Stefanski likes to run, Amari Cooper in the mix, obviously the 2 backs are still here with Chubb and Hunt, one of the best offensive lines. How will he fit here offensively with this skill position group and with what Kevin Stefanski will ask of him?
First of all, Barry and Stefanski don't need to go out and spend a lot of money on another receiver. Just get a competent receivers. He'll make them better, because that's what he did here. Now, he didn't make DeAndre Hopkins better. He made Will Fuller better. He made Kiki QT. He made a lot of guys better when they came through here. And that's what he'll do there. And the guy that'll benefit the most, if the defense is thinking pass, that's going to help Nick Chubb even more. And Nick Chubb doesn't need a lot of help with that 5-yard average per carry. So I think the running game is going to benefit the most. With Baker Mayfield, you knew first and foremost you had to stop the run. With Watson, first and foremost, you're going to be worried about the pass, and you're going to be worried about him running, because he's a dynamic runner. He's tough mentally and physically. Remember 2018, he had a collapsed lung and a broken rib. Couldn't fly to Jacksonville because of air pressure, so he took a luxury coach from Houston to Jacksonville, and he beat the Jaguars. And so he is mentally tough, physically tough, and let me tell you, he'll have a huge chip on his shoulder because of everything that he's gone through. And he's always professed his innocence, so through his attorney. You know, we have not talked to him since the day after the 2020 season. He made a statement after the grand jury no-billed him, but he didn't answer questions. When he does his news conference in Cleveland, that will be the first time he's talked. And I hope somebody out there will ask him, why did you want to be traded from Houston? Because we have an idea, but we don't know for sure coming from him.
Yeah, and that's one of the strange things, kind of the way that this all went down when he basically said he wasn't going to play there anymore, allegations, and now he sits out a year. And that had to be a very bizarre situation. I remember reading reports, John, that he was a scout team safety at one point before they decided to completely keep him away. What was that season like with Deshaun?
Well, first of all, most of those reports you take them with a grain of salt. I've seen so much bad reporting on this situation going back to the get-go. He had to show up to keep him being fined $50,000 a day. Like Baker Mayfield's going to hold out. Nobody holds out anymore. It's $50,000 a day.
Yeah.
Plus, it can't be forgiven by the team. So what you have, hold in. So Watson showed up. He went to work every day. It was a zoo the first day. National media there. Then it was still a zoo every day. So he had his red jersey. He would help the other quarterbacks warm up receivers. Then he would stand off to the side talking to his teammates. And when they would have walkthroughs, they may say, hey, Deshaun, go stand over there at weak safety or something like that. He would do it. And then when the season began, he came to work every day, went to meetings, went to the weight room and worked out, went out on the field and worked by himself with a coach, and then he went home. And the whole time he worked because he knew at some point he's going to be playing, and he knew he better play very well.
Man, that's just
wild.
It's wild. And I wanted to circle back, John, on that comment you made, because we were talking about it yesterday from the AFC perspective, and the notion that Russell Wilson goes to the AFC, Devontae Adams goes to the AFC, Von Miller goes back to the AFC. We kind of circled on about 8 teams that feel like they're Super Bowl contenders. We centered on about 12 that think they're playoff contenders in the AFC, and you can argue that 1 or 2 here or there, but it's a lot. And you had mentioned that it's the most lopsided you've ever seen it. We were trying to think if there was another time that was even anything similar and couldn't. You've been around this league a long time. How do you put this type of imbalance into perspective?
I think it's going to be great watching the AFC. That's why I'm surprised Watson didn't go to one of the NFC teams. But you get $230 million guaranteed, you got to take it. And he's going to go there, and he could be great, and they still not get to the Super Bowl. I picked the Browns to win the Super Bowl last year. Maybe I was a year early. And at some point, all the legalities will be behind him, and he'll be a great quarterback. But, when the wind's blowing off Lake Erie, they still got to run the ball. And I think he'll fit in perfectly. He'll be really good. But, man, I'll tell you, it's going to decide of those teams who gets in the playoffs, who keeps his quarterback healthy, who has the fewest injuries, but especially at quarterback. And that's why Watson, except when he blew out his knee after he threw for 438 yards at Seattle, just barely running in practice, that's the only time he's been hurt. I mean, that's the only time he was kept out because of an injury.
Yeah, and that story you told earlier about driving from Houston to Jackson with a collapsed lung is pretty incredible, and then going and beating the Jags. That's pretty wild there. I want to ask real quickly again, you mentioned Will Fuller as Watson's favorite, or that Watson was Fuller's favorite quarterback. There's been a lot of speculation about those two linking up and that Fuller was waiting to see where Watson would go. Would you, if you were in the Browns' shoes, is that somebody you'd bring into the mix here?
Absolutely. Now, I would make sure I paid him based on games he played, because he's one of the most injury-prone players I've ever seen. But in the last year of his contract, 2020, he was playing great. He's fast, and it wouldn't matter what kind of surface. But like Miami found last year, he's hurt most of the time. So you got to pay him per game, give him some incentive. It was legitimate injuries. He's just a guy that gets hurt a lot. We think he went to Miami because he knew that's where Deshaun wanted to go. So I'll guarantee you he's holding out for the Browns.
No, fascinating stuff. Really appreciate your insight, sir. Thanks for giving us a little bit of it today.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. Thank you.
All right, that's John McClain. Covers the Texans in the NFL for, as he put it, 4 decades on the beat. From a just a football perspective, and I think when you think about what this offense can look like, it was interesting when he said, "I wouldn't spend another dime on another receiver, that he'll make whoever you bring in there better." That is the type of player that he is across the board. It's not just the receiver opposite Amari Cooper, whoever that may be, but it's Nick Chubb will be better. The offensive line will be better. David Njoku will be better because of the way that this guy elevates everybody around him on the field. He is elite in every single sense of the word. The ease with which he plays the position. I've watched him closely going back to his time at Clemson. I think he's the most consequential college football player of the last 20 years in terms of he is in part why Clemson elevated. He played in back-to-back national championship games against Alabama. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Alabama has a lot of talent. In both of those games, he was the best player on the field in both games, both as a sophomore and as a junior. He won the national championship as a junior, was heroic as a sophomore in that game, was sensational. He never should have lasted that long in that draft. At the time of that draft, I thought it was crazy that he was falling. I remember being on the radio going, my God, the Browns just stay and just draft him. Like you just pick him. Like he's everything that you want, and he still is all of that. And he proved over the course of his years in the NFL that he was everything everybody said that he was going to be. Some of that statistical stuff that John was popping off with the 400 and some yards against a good Seattle defense, and it was a good Seattle defense leading the NFL in passing, those type of things. That's who he is as a player.
What I remember from at the time, there were questions about his ability to see the field, throw the intermediate ball. That was what people had said. There was no question about his leadership or his accomplishments, certainly coming out of Clemson. And didn't he hit Hunter Renfrow? Wasn't it Renfrow?
It was Hunter Renfrow on the game when it was a walk-off. Yeah, it's a walk-off.
On like third down or something like that? Or
it was the last play
of the game?
It was the last play, yeah.
So I remember watching him as a rookie. I want to say we went down there. I'm going to try to pull this up, but I'm pretty sure we went down there in 2017. And I could be wrong, but let me pull up his career game logs here. We did.
Every time we've gone down there, it's all worked out so well.
We went down there in 2017. If I'm not mistaken, this would be a game started by Kevin Hogan.
That is correct.
And I wish I were mistaken.
No.
And I remember coming into that game, Watson had thrown for 9 touchdowns with 1 interception the 2 weeks prior. They beat Tennessee, I think 57-14. Yeah, they lose to Kansas City 42-34. And I remember watching him in that game, and you could see all the gifts he had, but he was still very raw in terms of like reading the defenses.
This would have been his rookie year.
This was his rookie year, yeah. And then he gets hurt the very next week after that game against us, where he throws for the 402 and the 4 touchdowns against Seattle, and that ended his season.
I remember live tweeting the game against Seattle because Russell was great in that game too. Like the two of them were it was a show. The kid just put on a show.
So that's 17, and he completes 58% of his passes against us. He was a 50% passer in half of his games, 60 or higher in half of his games. As a rookie, this is a rookie. Go ahead.
I remember when he tore his ACL. Remember, it was during the week. He just showed. He came off the practice field. Was like, hey, my knee just kind of feels like I pulled something or did something. Like, he practiced fully.
Yeah.
Then in 18, we go to Houston again. This was the game where I think Baker threw a bunch of picks maybe in the first half and struggled in the second half.
Second half he was good.
Was on fire.
Yeah, I
threw
remember
for 300
this.
yards in the second half. And in that one, Watson was just surgical. 22 of 31, 71% completion, 224, 1 touchdown. It just felt, I noticed in 1 year just how much easier the game came to him. I believe Jason McCourty had a pick 6 in that game, if I'm not mistaken, but we did not win, or maybe that was in the 17 game because he didn't throw a pick there. That had to be in his rookie year. Yeah, that was the Jason McCourty one. But I remember watching and thinking, man, the jump he made from that first year to the second year was just massive. And then that's really when he started to launch himself, into the upper echelons of the quarterbacks. And frankly, if you look at his career, he played full-time in 18, 19, and 20. He was a Pro Bowler in 18, 19, and 20.
Do the 20 year because that's without Hopkins.
In 20, he completes 70% of his passes, 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks, averages 9 yards per attempt. For his career, this is somebody who completes 67.8, which is the highest number in the history of the NFL for anybody with 1,500 attempts. 68% completions. That is unbelievably elite. 8.3 yards per attempt for his career. That year he averaged 8.9, which led the league, and he was second in the league in rating behind Rodgers, 112.4. His career quarterback rating for his career, since it's career quarterback rating, 104.5. I mean, the
2020 year. I mean, just think about this now, folks. Who's on that offensive line?
No,
so Laramie Tunsil would have been there, but he's been sacked a lot.
9% of his dropbacks for his career, which is an astronomical number.
The run game, not really much there.
No.
And then the 20, there's no Hopkins.
No,
he's
Hopkins.
not on that team
in
2020.
I remember us, doing our. I think that's where One Thought started. I remember us saying, he's doing things that.
Yeah.
So
no one else on the team's doing anything.
Yeah. So his leading receiver that season was Brandon Cooks. Cooks had 1,150 yards, 6 touchdowns. Will Fuller, in 11 games, put up 900 yards and 8 touchdowns at 16.6 a catch. He had a tight end named Jordan Akins who had 403 and a touchdown. Cobb had 441, Kute 40. Darren Fells, former Brown, had 312 and 4 touchdowns in that one. I mean, it was not exactly a murderer's row, and the running backs were David Johnson and Duke Johnson of the Browns, and they combined for 553 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. All right, who's left on the free agent market? We will go over that list. We'll visit with the Hoff in about 40 minutes from now. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. For Char Whiskey Bar and Grill in Rocky River, enjoy over 300 whiskeys, craft cocktails paired with made-from-scratch menu items. Char, write this down. Char has Pappy Van Winkle, Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, and Old Forester in stock. So stop by this week. Stop in and watch the games this weekend, and don't forget about the amazing food. Support local. Visit Char Whiskey Bar and Grill in Rocky River or at char/rockyriver.com. Remember I told you guys last week that I had a little birdie tell me what was in this allocation for them that was going to be made available for you for tasting, and I said it's good. Trust me.
Yes.
Is this the special barrel?
No, you can do barrel selections. Like I think they do that too.
I heard Fontana talking about it.
It could have been like
his program.
He could have, yeah. He could have been. They could have been maybe doing an old Forester barrel selection. That's possible. But they tweeted out last week after I said it on the show. They tweeted out the antique collection from Buffalo Trace and the Pappy Van Winkle, which the Buffalo Trace antique and the Pappy Van Winkle allocation every year. Those are the Holy Grail allocations every year.
That's a big deal, man.
It's a really big deal. Yeah.
Huge.
So that's good. Good job there. We were just talking, you and I, because I was watching some of it too. And if you're up on social, one of the things that you're seeing right now in the NFL is this Malik Willis pro
throwing bombs, and
people are going nuts about it. I remember we were at the combine, and we were talking about this specifically with quarterback. And at the time, at that point, there was no solution on Rodgers, there was no solution on Russell Wilson, there was no seemingly solution on Deshaun Watson. On any of those. Now, all of those things are completed. But at that time, there wasn't. And we said, look, someone is going to fall in love with one of these guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go as early as 2. If one of them goes as early as 2. And that's what's happening today with Malik Willis. Like him throwing on air, people are losing their mind over this. Now, from a size point, and this isn't meant as in any way of saying anything about Baker, he's shorter than Bake. So remember, everyone was concerned about that with Bake and with Kyler, all that. Like Malik is actually smaller in stature than Baker is.
Yep.
And people are going nuts about this pro day thing. Like someone is going to talk themselves into it, and a big reason for it is what we just discussed with John McClain in terms of the imbalance in the AFC. Not only are there 8 teams who I think probably view themselves as Super Bowl contenders in the AFC, and 12 teams in the AFC who view themselves as playoff contenders. Keep in mind, only 7 get in. Every one of the quarterbacks that is being discussed, and a couple that were not discussed, like Trevor Lawrence, are in their mid-20s. There's no old dude. Wilson's the oldest. He's 33. Yep. Everybody else is in their mid-20s and with the team that they're with for a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of a stunning, which is why when the list of teams were like 8 teams think they can make the play, or 12 teams think they can make the playoffs, 8 think they can win the Super Bowl. There's 6 of them that are going to be saying that for the next decade.
Yes.
At a minimum. Super Bowl.
Yeah. Maybe
in this
more.
Conference. It's pretty wild.
Chargers, Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Next how many years? Next 6 years?
So take next 5 years. Sure.
Next 5 years. Chargers, Broncos, Kansas City.
Yep.
Us, Cincinnati.
Yep.
Baltimore.
Potentially.
Buffalo.
Yep. And then if
Lawrence
if
Lawrence pops, you could have 8 teams over the next 5 to 6 years that say, yeah, we can, and all young. Wilson would be the only one who'd be in his late 30s by the time it gets there, but I don't know. Rodgers pretty good at 38.
And I have to feel like the Raiders right now absolutely
For sure.
feel like they can do that. And Carr's not that old. Jacobs isn't that old. Renfro's not that old. Devontae Adams isn't that old, even though he's on the older side. And Waller's not that old. I mean,
no.
That's their core. Max Crosby's not that old. Like
No. Correct. Yeah. And Zach Wilson, if he hits. Yeah. So, I mean, it's. You
still got Tannehill.
Yeah, your only solution with this thing is like the eliminating of conferences. That'd be it, and just the 14 best teams make the playoffs. Otherwise, because this imbalance is going to be here for the next decade.
Do you think that's possible?
No,
me neither.
But you can dream.
If you did like a Champions League, where the top 14 of the NFL, and then like the other 16 or the other 18 have a playoff to determine who gets the bid.
The problem is it probably takes a majority of people to vote for it, and nobody in the NFC is going to vote for it.
No way.
Because they got it great right now.
Yeah.
If you're in the NFC.
Every team thinks they have a chance in the NFC.
Yeah, right. And the 3 of the teams have old dudes at quarterback. The 3 best teams have of older dudes at quarterback, whether with Brady, Stafford, and Rodgers. And the Rams have really no way of improving their team other than come play in Los Angeles. They don't have any
Until
first-round
the Cowboys
picks.
get a coach, I don't
No
think anybody's
picks.
taking them seriously.
No, no. And they're going to blow through their window. The Cowboys are going to blow through their window here.
Yep.
You know? And then, honestly, like even the Kyler situation in Arizona, aside from him, that's an older roster. When you think about Watt, you think about, think about them. I mean, even DeAndre is getting older.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not it's Kyler is, but then everybody else
is
older. Yeah. I mean, if what you're hoping for, if you're from the NFC side of things, like if you were like the boss of the NFC, you need Justin Fields to be a dude, and you need Trey Lance to be a dude. Those two guys have got to be dudes. That's the way that's going to go.
Man, you don't feel like you're getting that look.
No. We do have this bit of news. It looks like Zadarius Smith is signing with Minnesota. So he was a week ago. We had him to Baltimore. That was thought to reportedly be a done deal, but he never signed it.
That was 4 years, $36 million, and now he's getting 3 years, $42 million. So
wow.
I'd
So
say
good job out of him.
That worked out to his benefit to do that. Now, one thing that people are looking at is saying that the signing of Zadarius Smith could be a precursor to the trading of one Danielle Hunter, and that the Browns, there have been reports the Browns are a team that were interested in that, if that is something that they are going to do.
Yeah. So worth monitoring. Are you surprised we haven't seen some more things, some more signings, or are we kind of in a lull here?
I think we're in a little bit of a lull because what you have, and we're going to go through the names on some of these lists in terms of the players that are still out there. What you have are a lot of veterans, and you have a couple, young guys that maybe didn't live up to exactly what they thought they were going to be, but you have a lot of veterans who are maybe waiting for the right situation or waiting for a camp injury. I think some of that's in play at this point with some of the names that are on there, and we're not talking about. I'm focusing more on positions that are, interested to the Browns, of interest to the Browns, so I'm not looking at certain other positions, but that is that's where you're at. I mean, you look wide receiver, Odell.
Saw the Rams today saying they'd like him back.
They like him back. Will Fuller, who we talked about, John McClain, obviously knows Watson very well. Those are really the receivers. I mean, maybe a guy like Marquez Valdes-Scantling because he's a vertical guy, but I don't know. You listen to the general and you say, wait a second, we drafted Anthony Schwartz to become our guy like that.
Sure.
Could he do that now with Deshaun Watson? We got DPJ. Defensive end, Clowney's the best one out there, but then you have some veterans again. Melvin Ingram, more of a 3-4 guy if you ask me. Jerry Hughes, Trey Flowers. You got, Derek Barnett, the former first-rounder of the Eagles, who's been solid. Arden Key would be on the cheaper range, former Niner. Justin Houston, old veteran, more of a 3-4 guy, I would think. And then on the interior, you got Calais Campbell, Akeem Hicks, Sheldon Richardson, and Ndamukong Suh. I mean, these are names of guys that are
we know them.
Veterans. We know them well. Wouldn't mind seeing Sheldon come back. And then there's Larry Ogunjobi, who's going to sign a huge deal. And I feel so badly for him that he failed his physical, and that didn't pan out.
Oh, I missed that. Larry failed the physical in Chicago?
It happened late Friday when literally all the Watson stuff was going on.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
that. Was 3 years 40 for him. I mean, we're talking transformative turkey.
Life-changing money, yeah. Transformative turkey, to say the least.
So we'll see what ends up ultimately happening with him. I know that there's still a ton of interest in him once his surgically repaired foot is able to be ready, but it certainly will be interesting to see. Malik Willis, his pro day, that's really all anybody's talking about on social media right now. Jake Trotter said, had heard the Browns were super high on Willis before today, and obviously before making the Watson trade. People are going nuts about how the guy can absolutely throw the ball on air, and I'll tell you what, very impressive arm. People forget, though, it was at his pro day, Josh Allen threw an 80 yards in the air. I don't know if people remember that, but that was something.
He's probably the least that's probably the least proud moment of my amateur evaluation career was the Josh Allen evaluation I had. Just the lack of accuracy was
he did something
terrifying.
That is without precedent. He significantly improved his accuracy from college to the pros. He and I think if I'm Josh Allen, I am counting my blessings that it worked out the way that it did.
I think it's a great point you're about to make. I hope people understand because as you lay it out, you want to talk about the perfect incubator?
He got to go to a place with total stability, same offensive coordinator, same head coach, same system for 4 years, first 4 years of his career. They brought in the pieces that he needed to get Stephon Diggs. They went out and got for him. But I think having that, instead of having to relearn a playbook every year, it allowed him to really hone in, and he put in the work, to his credit, on his mechanics, to everything that he could do to improve the accuracy that he was able to improve, and he's done it. And you got to do nothing but tip your cap to the player he is, the leader he is, and that Josh Allen is the guy out of that, that draft class that is that dude. Not to say that you don't have a very good quarterback, down in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's won an MVP out of that draft class as well. But Josh Allen has become that one guy that is, without any question, the franchise quarterback MVP candidate every year. Lamar Jackson would be second out of that class.
Yeah,
he's been.
That's the thing. And with this group here of quarterbacks coming out, and I would imagine that there would be several of them who land in the NFC, because that's where you have some of this aging, and some of that would be a great spot for some of them to have some time to learn and to sort it out. Willis, young kid, Howell's a young kid, have a minute, sit, no pressure. Go ahead.
I just wanted to remind people too, because imagine I'm going to give you stats, and then imagine if in the second year, whole new offensive system and everything. I don't know how many people remember this. Josh Allen's rookie year, 52% completions, 10 touchdowns, 12 picks, quarterback rating of 67.9.
I remember it because I remember being at the Combine, and we were coming off. Bake had that great second half of the year once Freddie was calling the plays. And I remember being at the Combine, and Vic, the man for whom the show's who Loins birthed the show, I remember Vic being like, "Whoa, he's got a lot to figure out, and that was not particularly high on him after that first year.
Second year, and he averages 172 yards passing in games rookie year. Second year, goes from 52% completion to 58.8, from 52.8 to 58.8. He goes 10-6, 3,000 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 9 picks. So he averages 193 yards a game. So his first 2 years, he was not the person that we know now. It took a long time to groom, and I'm saying a lot of people talk, well, if he came to Cleveland, he's on to now going into 2020. He's on to his third offensive system, his third play caller. And that is one thing with it for Baker that I think when you look back at it was difficult in his development. That was one of the things that was going to be a challenge for him, to go through all the different head coaches, all the different play callers, all the different offensive systems that he had to go through early in his career. And I think that was difficult for him. Josh Allen doesn't have that, and that's why you see steady improvement. Then you go year 3, 69% completions, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, throws for 4,544 yards, 284 a game. So, and I know it's funny to say, but those first 2 years, those numbers and what you got, your quarterback ranked 67 and 85 back-to-back, you maybe don't get that kind of luxury elsewhere. And he was with a defensive coach, and they still went 10-6 that second year. Then they go 13-3 last year, 11-6. He's 64% completions, 36 touchdowns, 15 picks. He benefited from that, and he improved. It's not like he's actually improved overnight. This is the result of incredible hard work and the consistency around him, where things were able to become more second nature. But I don't think a lot of people were kind of revisionist history that Allen came in and was just all of a sudden
was not
awesome.
And
he was not.
No. That's the biggest fear that you have in Jacksonville with Lawrence, is that you have a wasted year.
Yep.
So you have a premium commodity, and you wasted a year of his career with nonsense. And now you better make damn sure you hit on the next one. This one has to hit, or Lawrence could be lost. I mean, that's how quickly this thing can go. The position you put these guys in is just as important, and I think sometimes more important than the talent with which they have. We'll go around the sports world coming up next. The Hoff coming up in about 12 minutes from now. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. So I watch, the wife and I watch a lot of these, like the Ozarks, and you're into Black Sails now, those type of shows, and most of that is of my doing, Deadwood and these things, and it's not particularly something I think she would choose. She usually ends up liking them. There are very few things that I've watched. She's like, it's too much. Like at times, Game of Thrones was that, where there would be times to be like, that's a lot going on, from some of the stuff on there. So every once in a while, you like to throw her a bone. Maybe this is something I'll watch with you, and I think you might like this. So I stumbled on this show on HBO called The Gilded Age, which airs on Mondays, which is a show about Gilded Age of American society. This is 1880s. Vanderbilt era, New York, big money, railroad, Carnegie, all of this. A lot of Cleveland stuff with it because that was a big part of the where this city was blown up. And so I said, well, I'm going to like the history part of it, and she'll like that, and then we'll have a little bit of society, and it's fine. It's a fine show. I enjoy it. But there is something that they say in it that I'm using now on the boys. And so they'll say something like, this would be an example of a line in the show, like a mother would say to a daughter, "Father cannot come, he's previously engaged." And the daughter would say, "Well, mother, father's engaged in a great many things." And so if the boys go, like last night, my oldest Black Cobra goes, "Well, what did I do?" And I said, "You've done a great many things."
A great many things.
Yeah. I think that's just great. I'm using it now in the reg. Like,
there is no comeback for that.
No. What have I done? Well, you've done a great many things.
Wait, this is going the opposite direction of where I was going.
I have?
Yes.
Would you like for me to elaborate on the great many things that you've done wrong?
Sure.
I like that. I like that line. A great many things.
So was bedtime 5 minutes early then, I'm assuming?
No, he was we had a huge interaction last night where he would not on Saturday we had to go get lacrosse gear because there's some new standards, blah, 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 whatever. So we had to go get some lacrosse gear. And there's a place in Chagrin Falls that I love to go to buy the lacrosse gear. I think it's called, give them a free pub, Step In or Step to Sports or something like that. It's right on the square in Chagrin Falls. You know this place I'm talking about, Z? That's your area. Step 2 Sports or Step In Step Sports.
Is it where the
it's right on the town square area.
On the square.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Feels like a right spot. Yeah, that is in the neighborhood. Sure.
Yeah, so I always go there first, and I know that they used to have a spot in Hudson, and that place doesn't go anymore, but they still have the place in Chagrin Falls. So I always go there first to buy the gear because it's a big chunk, and I would rather give it to them than give it to, a big national
Dick's
conglomerate.
Yeah.
So we go there to get it, and he will not get off the Fortnite. And so I go, dude, let's go. No, one more. I got to finish this. I'm in the middle of this. I understand. I've been you. I'm saying we're leaving. Let's go. I said, you have 5 minutes.
Was he about to get a Vic?
Apparently. All of his buddies, he's yelling at his buddies on the headset.
How many people were left in the match?
I have no idea.
I'm
helping
you. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to give you the information you need to properly assess the time remaining.
It doesn't matter, though, whatever it is.
The boy is wrong.
Yes. Yes. There's because from what I can tell, these things that you're discussing can last from a matter of 2 minutes to 30. It just depends.
Right. It's right.
On
if
how
he had
long
just
it
dropped
goes.
in, if he had just dropped in, you got 20 minutes. If they're
no
going
idea
all the
what
way.
he's into.
Yeah.
I have no clue what he's into.
The good news for him is you could say you can always just drop in again as soon as it's time to play again. Like it's not that one game links to another game. They're all completely independent events.
So this is good information for me to know that they don't link. Like this won't be counted against you if you bail.
No.
You're fine. So that's good information.
Now
so
he
I did
might
not
say,
know that.
"But Dad, I have a victory crown right now. I'll lose my victory crown. I'll get you another crown."
We'll sort it out another time.
Yeah.
So I said you got 5 minutes. So I come back. I go, dude, let's go. Okay. So now this is the third time, and he looks at me like I can't. And so I mouthed to him. I said, I do not want to embarrass you in front of your friends. Please get off the mechanism now.
That's a very good card to
That's
play.
how I
How
mouthed
did he
it.
respond to that?
Headset is thrown.
Thrown.
Not thrown, but taken off. I said, you're done. You're grounded for a week from it. You're off it for a week. Get in the car in 5 minutes. We're leaving. So apparently something dropped on Sunday.
It's a new season.
Okay. New season
He's been
dropped.
dying for this. I'm
the
sure.
new season dropped.
Bryce, the Boods has been all he does is watch videos about possible leaks leading up to this.
Yeah.
They got rid of building. Everybody's very excited. Everybody's coming back to the game. It's blowing up. It's more popular than ever.
Wonderful. So he comes to me yesterday.
It's a new season, Dad. I'm trying to go through the battle pass.
It's a new season. That's exactly what he said. Like the battle, all this. I said, I don't care. And he goes, well, all my friends, that's his new thing. All my friends. I could give 2 blanks about that. This has been the penalty.
It's the exact opposite that you should say.
This is the penalty.
Mm-hmm.
You were warned. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I said, I love you, but this is the penalty. So he keeps trying to get it back. So I said, I tell you what. And we know how he feels about bedtime. I said, I'll tell you what. I will give you. You can just watch this thing. Now, you can't play it. He goes, I just want to see it. I won't even play. I just want to see it, which is a lie. And I go, okay, fine. You can see it, but you have to go to bed at 8 o'clock from now until the end of the school year. That's not fair. Why does it have to be so harsh? Why are you making this so difficult on me? He said, because I'm your dad, and that's the job.
How do you do it without cracking a smile? Because you know the reaction's going to be over the top.
Oh, yeah. And I always just make the...
So he's out till next Sunday.
Well, and it'll be more than that because we're on spring break. No, he's done. He could be back in on Friday. Like, he can play Friday after school. So that'll be the first time. Then he was trying to convince me, like, if he doesn't play now, that'll be gone. Like, if he's not in on it right now, it'll be gone, whatever this new thing is.
The building will be back.
So what's that mean?
It's the way that, like, the players who are, like, crazy Fortniters, like my son, and then they can just build up all these buildings and whatever. This is more, there's no building allowed, so you're just out in the world. So I think it's a much more fun game right now, like significantly more.
Well, when does that change, though? Why is there
because they did it. It was like an 8-day thing or something like that.
So he's got when did it launch?
I think Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, so
he could potentially have a day Friday,
like Thursday or Friday. He can play without the building.
Yeah.
Friday he can play without the building.
So this is where you encourage him. You got to be packed. You have to be ready to go.
Let me go ahead and just say advocate young 1 second for the young fella.
Yeah.
What if because I know he gives you tough time on bedtime, right?
Yeah, that's where
what's the current stated bedtime?
9:05.
Okay. So I would tell him you can play for every minute that you go to bed before your bedtime for the rest of the week. So let's say on Tuesday, tonight, you want to go to bed at 8:30, no muss, no fuss. You get yourself a half-hour game time on Wednesday. Think about how smooth that'll be for you.
Like he's trying to buy in.
He
buys time.
He will buy time by going to bed with no repercussions.
But aren't I also then going off of my word on the punishment?
Yeah, but you're showing him, look, I'm reasonable.
But I can't be reasonable. His mom's reasonable. I can't be.
Trying to negotiate.
This isn't young Zegura. This is saying this is positive reinforcement. Or you could say, look, if you hit your bedtime Tuesday, Wednesday,
well, he hits his
Thursday,
bedtime anyway. Like
with
that's
no
non-negotiable.
with no whatever. But you said he's always Dad, tell me about this.
He's trying stuff, but he never wins. Like it's it's one L after another.
Is there something that you would like him to do more of that he doesn't do? Read a book.
He's a great kid. He
hit some push-ups.
He doesn't get in trouble. Like he does the right things. He's a good kid. But I think part of it's because I've been hard on him.
Because he's been laying down the law.
Laying down the law on him.
I tried to get him one drop. Just try to get him one drop for a half hour.
That's not bad. Like if you go to bed at 8:30, but then he's always like, well, Dad, don't you want to hang out with me? Because when he stays up late, all he wants to do is watch sports with me.
So you say, what's more important to you? I'd love to hang out with you. Would you rather hang out with me, or would you rather play Fortnite with your boys? Your choice.
But Dad,
I'm giving you free will, son.
Go.
I'm giving you free will. I'm treating you like an adult. That's what.
Yeah.
We have decisions to make in life.
And you
can't do everything. Sometimes I'm going to do A, and that's going to cause me to sacrifice
It's bad
B.
timing on him because he was kind of done with the Fortnite. He was off of it. And then now on Monday at school, like everyone is talking about this, whatever this is.
It's big. It's a big
and
deal.
now he's like, feels like he's back in the mix.
In a way, you're kind of helping him, let him get back in the mix with the boys, with this crew, Nothing wrong with a little hang with the boys.
That's true. We get to hang with one of our boys, the Hoff.
The Hoff.
Coming
Speaking
up next,
of.
Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, the weather is still cold outside. A nice hot bath or shower would feel amazing, and you can transform your bathroom into a custom bath. It'll feel like a spa with my great friends at the Bath Authority, and they can make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler, expert factory-trained installers. It's where affordability meets quality, guys. Largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. You can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. It can be spa-like. They can do it for you in about a day, in and out of your house. Acrylic tubs that insulate and keep the heat warm. Tub-to-shower conversions. Superior products with expert installers. And give them a call now for $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399, or go to thebathauthority.com. And with that, we head on the hotline for a visit, a long overdue visit from the Hoff. Huff, it's been a hell of a life. I mean, we see these images of you with enormous fish. Groupers. We see you in incredible boxes watching basketball games. Sorry for the beloved Badgers. What have the last few weeks been like for you, sir?
It's good to be the king, boys. It has been a great spring. You know, I think there's a few people that are enjoying the unwinding of this pandemic a little bit because we've been planning vacations for the last couple years. You know, spring is when the football season's over and kids get their spring break. They get another little break around Easter. And so we have these vacations that you book, you pay for in advance, and all of a sudden it gets canceled. And so now we're sitting there with a bounty of riches because we got all these vacations that are basically on credit.
Yep.
We're trying to get in before you lose those credits. And so Florida, wife and I are going to Ireland on Wednesday for young Alex Mack's wedding. Yes,
wow.
That is amazing.
In Ireland? Hold on.
For over 2 years.
Wait a second. Alex Mack's getting married in Ireland?
So there's actually a good reason outside of that.
It's
Ireland
awesome.
is just awesome. He actually is marrying a girl who is from Dublin. And, of course, if you're from Dublin, you got to have your wedding in Ireland.
I would imagine so. That's going to be the Emerald Isle and the Hoff.
So you're flying into Dublin? I mean, knowing you and the way that you're the copious amounts of research that are done, that is going to be done by you, what does this entail now? I mean, obviously there's a wedding, and we'll do all that in the festivities, but what are you going to try to get in here? I mean, are we going to the Guinness, you know, the brewery? Are we going to distilleries?
Kissing the Blarney Stone?
What are we doing?
As you know, I take the same level of attention to detail with my partying and my celebrations and my travel as I did during my football career. And so
Facts.
I was laying out a very detailed plan because we're going to fly into Dublin. We're going to drive with the wedding party and the party bus across the country to the western side to Limerick. And then that's where the wedding is. So like 3 days in Limerick for the wedding. But then wifey and I are going to rent a car and then kind of make the loop back along the coast through the southwest, through the south and back into Dublin. Take like 6 days, just her and I, just a little one-on-one time. Cannot wait. But we're going to hit, Blarney Stone, Ring of Kerry, Cliffs of Moher, I think it's called the Heart of Buren. There's like this beautiful national park, to Killarney National Forest or National Park. Plenty of whiskey, plenty of Smittix, plenty of Guinness. All those good things. It is going to be epic. This will be my first time in Ireland or even really in that UK area. So needless to say, I am jazzed beyond belief.
I mean, I am jealous. It's
so amazing.
My first question, though, is are you going to find a partner for all these eccentric banded workouts that you have slated for the next 3 weeks?
Well, that's the sad thing, Z. I'm making this the official 1 week break from killing my body in the weight room, and I'll only have to hear about how you're suffering.
And you will.
I worked out pretty good through spring break last week because I had a buddy from Cleveland that was down there with us, and he's in pretty good shape. So him and I worked out. We pumped the iron together, so I made sure to get it in there because I knew that there was going to be destruction of the body here for the next 9 days while I'm visiting various whiskey distilleries in Ireland and visiting the proverbial Irish wedding that no crap lasts 3 days.
Wow.
3-day wedding. Oh, my gosh, Hoff. Oh, it's good to be king. You said it, brother. You said it. From the joy of that. Go ahead.
Do you have a distillery for him that you would? I mean, Redbreast.
Redbreast, I think, is the best Irish whiskey that I know of. The best one I have is Redbreast. Their 15 years is stunning, and then I believe they have a 23. 23 Bushmills, obviously they do a great job, but and then Jameson is the standard. But I think in terms of like fine Irish whiskey, Redbreast is the one that comes to mind to me.
Redbreast.
Yeah, there it is for the notes.
I'll have to check it out, see where that distillery is, and see if it's along our travels.
Along the route. I mean, how big can it be, Hoff Ireland? You're going to traversing the country. You can work it in.
Yeah, we're covering about a third of the country, so it's got to be around there somewhere, I imagine.
So Hoff, I also, like you, had a vacation in the can. Ended up with the kids down at Disney and then Universal. I ended up doing a call-in from Hagrid's motorbike escape or whatever it was to talk about Amari Cooper coming in, Jarvis Landry leaving, and I was pretty sure that those would be the most, probably the biggest stories of the offseason for the Browns. Wrong, erroneous things. I get back Tuesday night last week, and things have just been wild ever since. As somebody who obviously loves this organization and is paid to discuss this game on many, many platforms, what is your reaction to the last 10 days, which have just been all over the place and have ended with the Browns making the blockbuster trade to acquire the services of Deshaun Watson?
Well, certainly the last 5 days plus have been bonkers. I mean, the back and forth of your emotions and your heartstrings, and then even still where we sit today, where you're kind of you're wondering how you want to feel about things, right? Because I remember very clearly being on NFL Network when the Browns traded for Odell Beckham, and it was easy for me to be overjoyed, right? That was sort of a pure joy moment. It didn't turn out as happily as I thought it would be, but certainly it was one of those things where it happens and you felt like the Browns easily, you can be really excited about what just happened. Like, huge move, super pumped. This move was a little bit different because there's sort of two buckets where your heart lies, right? Your heart lies, one, with the laundry that you cheer for, and that's the orange and brown of the Cleveland Browns. And you're saying, man, this is easily, I would say, the best quarterback that we've ever had on this team in the Super Bowl era. Now, obviously, Bernie had his years. He was phenomenal. But to be able to get a potential future Hall of Famer, depending on how the rest of his career goes, but certainly that's where the talent is, in the beginning of the prime of his career, with the skill sets that he has, with the team that's around him, it's pure joy, right? It's incredible, and it's something that, as just a pure fan, if you remove everything else and put it in a bubble, you've got to be elated, right? But then, of course, with everything, you can't, you don't always get everything you want.
Yep.
There's a lot of baggage that comes with it, and there's emotional baggage for the fans as far as how you feel. How you should feel about, one, the guy that you thought was going to be your franchise quarterback is gone now. And then the guy that they brought in has 22 sexual misconduct allegations over his head. And now they're just allegations at this point, but there's a lot of them. And so you're trying to, as a fan, rationalize all these things and all these emotions that you're going through. And it makes you a little bit unsettled. And I'd be kidding myself if I said it was just a great feeling all around. And I think after thinking about it over the weekend and having plenty more Michelob Ultras to think about things, you kind of come to the idea that it's one of those where you're happy, but you want to wait and see. You want to hear more before you're totally on board and you feel great about everything. And so there is that wait and see part, and you hope that as things go along and maybe more information comes out and things are handled and there's some type of finality to the situation that is surrounding Deshaun, and that things look like they're trending up from wherever they end up.
Sure.
You hope that you could feel as a fan of this team for a long time, whether you've been a lifelong fan and you're 80 years old, or like me, you became a fan 14, 15 years ago when you were drafted. You hope that you get to a position where you feel good about it and you're able to cheer on your team and not feel bad about it.
Joe, we talked about this at great length yesterday in terms of the piece that Albert Breer and also that Albert Breer at SI and then Jason Lloyd at The Athletic did in terms of the process that we went through before being involved with this and pursuing Deshaun Watson, an exhaustive process in terms of sorting out, to make sure. Nathan said it so eloquently yesterday. He said the Browns went into this with no and were proven, got to the point of feeling good about yes. And I'm butchering kind of the way you said it, but you get the idea. And Watson went into it going, no, I'm not going to play in Cleveland, and ended up being yes. So kind of both sides went the opposite direction of where they thought to get this thing done. And you're right on all of those things and the complicated nature of all of this. And it's going to be a while before you can, or if ever, if you can put it in a box and say, here's how you ought to feel about this, because everyone's going to feel how they're going to feel, and they have the right to. But from an on-the-field standpoint, this to the offensive side of the ball, we had John McClain on, who's been covering the NFL for 4 decades. His words, not mine, 4 decades. And he said, if I were them, I wouldn't even go get another receiver, because whoever you have, Watson will make him better. And the same is true of Nick Chubb. The same is true of our offensive line. The same is true of David Njoku, Amari Cooper. His way of elevating everybody around him on the field is something, I think you're right. I don't think you've had it since Otto Graham.
Absolutely. And that's why you so badly as a fan want to be able to just put it in the box and talk football. And as an analyst, I've always been told, whatever your conviction is, it doesn't matter as long as you're convinced of it and you're able to argue it and you take a stand, one side or the other. And so living in the football world is kind of where I want to be right now, because I don't know about that other stuff. But from a football standpoint, when you look at what this guy can do for the football team, he has all the tools and some. I mean, there's a reason that before he sat out last season, before the allegations came out, I would say pretty much every NFL analyst had him in their top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, because he can throw the long ball. He can throw it short and accurate. He can run and get outside the pocket, then throw the ball down the field like Russell Wilson when he was a little bit younger. He can get outside the pocket and then run for 50 yards and then get down safely. He's literally a combination of a guy like a Patrick Mahomes with his arm, and he's almost like a Lamar Jackson with his legs. Oh, and by the way, the players in that Houston locker room, let's say while he was playing for them, loved him universally. And I think that goes back to what you were talking about with the Browns brass. Like, when a player that is of his caliber becomes available, it is your job as a front office to do your due diligence on every player, no matter what the situation is, what your preconceived notions are, what those issues are that are out there, right? Because we don't really have all the information, because we didn't do the investigations. We didn't do the background checks. We didn't dive into it. We are given only what the media reports are that are out there that have been told to us, which at this point it's starting to get larger and larger, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions. But as the Browns went in and they dove deep, I think they saw that this was a player in that locker room that was very much loved. He was an incredible leader that people followed. He was everything that you want from a football standpoint in that quarterback position. A great decision maker, accurate. Like, he checks literally every single box. And as they got a chance to dive in and do their homework, as they got a chance to talk to the people around him, go way back to his Clemson days, they found, I think, a different picture, maybe much different, but I'm not working as a Browns coach, so I don't know what they would say, but I'm guessing by what I've read, what I've heard, the people that I've talked to in that building, that after they've got a chance to meet him, after they dove in and they had their private investigators and they talked to everybody they possibly could, almost as if they were doing their due diligence for the first time on a draft pick, a high draft pick, which is kind of what you do. You do all the background checks, you do the security checks, you do the personality checks where you're talking to coaches and you're talking to people that maybe are way, way down the totem pole, right? The people that are the minimum wage people that work in the building. How does he treat you? How does he handle those things? And I think the picture was a lot different coming out of that changed their mind and said, hey, we feel comfortable pursuing this player after learning more about everything that is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and Hoff, I can assure you that the Browns believe that they know that they have done more research, vetting, dedicated more time and resources to understanding Watson this situation, which is an ugly situation, that and than they have on any player in franchise history, certainly since this current regime has owned the Browns. So it was as thorough and exhaustive as possible, because that's what you need to do to ultimately make a $250 million bet on somebody to be the face of your franchise. You need to be as sure as is humanly possible to be in these circumstances. And I know that there will be press conferences that will come, and people will get the opportunity to ask questions and I think get more detail on that. But this was not anything taken lightly. And as you said at the top, and I say every time we discuss this, there are people who are not comfortable with this, and that is certainly okay and quite understandable. And I think that the whole burden will be on the organization and the player to earn that trust back down the road, so that people who want to be fans of this great organization are able to do so, and do so comfortably and with their conscious the way that they want it to be.
Without a doubt. And that's exactly the type of betting you have to do when there's the serious allegations against a player that are right now against your quarterback. But I will say, knowing the people that were involved in this decision makings, from the Haslams through Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, Paul DePodesta, those guys have great moral compasses. They are very steady. They are very empathetic. They are very conscious of the things that go on around them. They're very good people. And I trust, because they know a lot more about everything than we do, right? On the outside, just as fans, because they've been digging in on this player for 6 months plus. And at some point you have to say, they know more than me. And I feel good, or maybe at least better, let's say better than I did maybe 3-4 days ago, after hearing from them, knowing the quality of their character.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think a lot of people have certainly asked us, and I've seen this and wondered, because you not only recently played in this league at a high level, you still have a great many friends around the league who are still currently playing. And I know that a lot of our teammates have made their way down to Houston at various times, guys that you've played with as well. But there was a question, would Deshaun Watson divide a locker room? Would players not want to play with him? And I think we know from the reports that if he went to Atlanta, that Fournette, Jarvis, and there was one other player, were going to go to Atlanta. Or if he went to New Orleans, Terron Armstead was definitely going back to New Orleans. That's not the case. But take us from a guy who's done it like you have, and talk to guys in the league, what that kind of feeling is around the league about Watson now that he's a Brown.
Well, like it or not, the business of the NFL is a business. And my business is me and my performance and my contract, because that's what I owe to myself, to my family, to my children. And so when you're in that locker room, it's about winning, first and foremost. It's about doing the things that are necessary to try to provide, to continue to provide, and to try to do everything you can to be in an environment that provides wins for the franchise. Also, you want players in that locker room that have common goals of winning. You want players in that locker room that you enjoy spending your time with, just like in any walk of business. You want to do business with people that you enjoy spending time with. Now, certainly there's going to be players that have a different opinion because of these allegations, however it shakes out, about him and what happened off the field, which is completely understandable. And frankly, that's kind of where I sit. I don't know how I feel about everything in totality yet. And I'm taking a wait and see approach, because I want to hear more information. I want to hear from Deshaun. I want to see how all these things shake out. And I'm sure that's how some of the players in that locker room think.
Yeah.
Because that is a piece of when you bring a player in the locker room, how I feel about it. But with that being said, they're going to, generally speaking, look at who that player was in that Houston locker room and how beloved he was. And then they're also going to look at how this affects me and my team, and how great of a player he is, and how much more opportunity he gives your team to win. And they're going to largely, I think, be very excited that Deshaun Watson is now their quarterback. I'm not saying it's unanimous or it's going to be unanimous, but I think you've seen already by the reports of Jadeveon Clowney and Jarvis potentially being able to come back, that he's going to have a positive impact on that locker room just in the same way that the other superstar quarterbacks in the NFL have from a recruiting standpoint. Look what Josh Allen did in Buffalo. He got Von Miller to come there, right? We're seeing superstars right now that are in maybe the twilight of their career, but where they are still superstar players that are impactful, that have made buckets and buckets of money. And that's one of the benefits of the amount of money that's pouring into the NFL right now, is that these guys are reaching 30 years old and they've already made way more money than they can ever spend in their career, and way more money than their kids can ever spend. And so it becomes much more about chasing championships.
Yep.
It becomes much more about quality of life. And when you have then the quarterback like a Deshaun Watson, like a Russell Wilson, like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes, you're going to be able to collect those great players who want to come and play and be part of something that is really, really special. Because the money now, it's important. It's always important. But it's not as important as it was 10 or 20 or 30 years ago, when these guys were making just enough to kind of get themselves and bridge themselves into whatever they're going to do in retirement.
Joe, you're the best. Enjoy Ireland,
Enjoy
buddy.
Ireland.
Have
yes.
fun, pal. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, OBM, Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider, your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000. Visit the OhioBusinessMachines.com. The next level's coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.